When I say this to you, God is actually closing a door that you keep trying to reopen. And I'm not just talking about places, and I'm not talking about just people. I'm actually talking about the way you've been thinking for a while now. And because something is changing in you right now, and it's bothering you because you can't understand, you can't pinpoint what it is, because it's not loud, it's not dramatic, and it doesn't look like, you know, the progress on the outside. So it doesn't feel familiar. It doesn't feel like comfortable, but your reactions are different. And you trying to understand what God is doing. That means the things that you used to be pulled back into doesn't have the same grip anymore. Like talking to a old friend, the conversation that you used to tolerate to hear their problems, it's not a habit anymore. You know, where you used to justify, it doesn't sit right anymore. And that's because you're outgrowing a lot of things. But that particular door that you're trying to reopen because you're familiar with it and it's making you cause yourself to actually sit there and wonder what is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong. God is just closing a mental door that you keep reaching out for out of habit, familiar, comfortable, and just because you're scared to step into the unknown. But I want you to get this and hear me clearly. There are seasons where God doesn't remove you from the situation immediately. He just removed the attachment that used to be attached to you first. See, he's going to remove those things. And by him doing that, it's because he changed your environment without changing, the situation, the problem, the mindset. He actually changed you first. He recreate the same thing that brought you to this. And he's going to help you. So he's going to take you out these patterns before you go back to something new. So instead of you actually rushing forward, he slows down your thinking. Because if you go into something new and cross a new threshold, a new door, you're going to still go back to your same patterns. So he has to justify and get you right. See, you're going to start noticing that you used to be ignoring these type of people. The tone behind their voices, you wouldn't checking it out. You wouldn't aware to it. It used to always cost you, emotional cost, costing you because you was available to it. Now you're not available. And once you learn how to actually say no, that's the problem, because you always say yes. And that was a big problem. So once you stop feeling emotionally, exhausted, that's where when you used to defend, now it's just going to feel like a misalignment. And that's one of the things I learned. It's uncomfortable because it was familiar. It felt safe, even when we know it was unhealthy. But we choose to hold on to things and doors that should have been closed. So God is actually closing those doors to the old way you used to process things, the old ways how you used to react to things, the old way that you explain yourself. No more explaining yourself. What they think it is, that's what it is. The old way that you keep the access open when you know it's costing your peace. And that's a lot of people, because when you talk to certain people, you can feel your energy shifting. You can feel your vibe is starting to be off. And that's the reason why it's feeling, actually frustrating, is because the part of you keep reaching back for what you felt was normal. But it's normal. It's not always healthy. Normal is, let me put it like this. Sometimes God will close a door, right? By making you feel uncomfortable. For me, he had to force me to make that move to say, I'm no longer, benefiting from this. And once it felt fine, that's where, the certain environments doesn't energize you no more. I wasn't feeling like I had a place or a purpose where I was at. And that's why certain conversations that you are feeling right now, certain people that you're talking to, it's draining. It feels draining instead of bringing some excitement to your life, some motivation to your life, some inspiration to your life. That's why you crave to be quiet more than chaos now, because you're actually outgrowing. So you're not losing, passion. You're not losing tolerance. God is just changing your standards. Whew. When I'm going to say that, God is actually changing your standards. And here's why. See, you learning the difference between being busy and being aligned, between, being light and being led, between momentum and directions. When I'm talking, I'm preaching to somebody right now because somebody is particularly going through this and you don't know what it is. But after the shift, it messes with you. I get it. Because the old version of yourself that you survived by pushing through everything, it'll try to seep and creep back in. But that's sent by the enemy. But I want you to know that you're on the right track. This is your confirmation because the new version of yourself is learning to walk away without speaking on things, without asking for clarity on things, because you know God is going to take care of you. See, you don't owe everyone access anymore. You don't owe people long explanations, texting and trying to overexpress yourself for having those boundaries. See, you don't owe emotional labor to people who don't even value your peace anymore. So you got to get those type of people away from you. And God is actually closing that door that it may feel scary. I know. I honestly say it to someone that I feel scared to step out, but it forces you to trust God without having a backup plan. So I'm not looking for a backup plan. When people ask me what you're going to do next, I trust God. All I got to do is open up my mouth. And that's why some people keep checking to see if that door open. That's why you keep checking to see if the door is going to reopen. But it's not going to reopen because God closed that door. And that's why you keep revisiting those old thoughts, those old options, those old patterns, hitting up old people because you're scared, because it's quiet now. But God is saying to you that that door cannot open again. It can't open again because you're not supposed to think like that way anymore. And some of y'all having that moment where you revisit the past. Now you can go back and look how far God has brought you, but you're never supposed to stay stuck in that environment. So you're being upgraded, and that's maturity. This is a season of maturity for you. Not that kind of, things that you used to, like, announcing it. Sometimes God say you got to be quiet. Don't speak on it. But it's just going to change how you say things. It's going to change how you move, how you speak less, you pause more before you really react. You react slower, not because you unsure, but it's costing. It's costing your peace, your sanity, but you have the discerning to tell. So God is training your mind in this process for what's next, what you're going to deal with, how to handle people that don't see what your value is and they're trying to hate on you. But this is going to be beneficial for you because where God is taking you, you won't just, survive impulsive decision. You're going to be able to keep yourself sustained, not only emotional reactions or constant second guessing. That's over with. See, this next season of your life doesn't need, more hustle. A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to hustle more. You need more wisdom. It needs wisdom. And see, wisdom requires closed doors. See, the door that you had the anticipation to go through, you can't go through that because God has a different intended route for you. Doors to old thinking is closing. Doors to over explaining yourself are closing. Doors to old attachment and things God has already handled. That's why those doors ain't going to use the same key to unlock. That's why you feel stuck between old and new. So you can't go back there. So stop trying to repeat and go back there because you're still learning on how to move forward differently. Man, this speaking to me right now. As I'm having a conviction, I can tell y'all this. And that space that we feeling right now is uncomfortable. But I'm telling you right now, the confirmation telling me it because it's necessary. Because it's where the discernment replace the impulse, where patience replace urgency, and where peace replaces chaos. And people look at me and think my life is chaos, but I have so much peace because the peace comes from God. And God is, gently closing doors that I thought I was supposed to go through. He's not slamming it, not at all. He actually wants you to learn how to let go without fear. And I had to let go in the process of learning how to let go. And once you actually fully shift your mind the way you used to think, you won't need to force anything at all. Not at all. See, you won't have to chase nothing that you want. You won't have to beg for nothing that you want. You won't have to ask God to reopen anything that He already shut, because you're going to have the clarity, you're going to have the directions, you're going to have the discernment to tell what's for you. You'll just know. Yeah, you're going to know. It's a feeling that you can't describe. It's an undescribable feeling. So if you feeling quiet, lately, and more selective about who you want to be around and less reactive to a certain situation when you should have reacted because they got you messed up. But that's not falling behind. That's not you being weak. That's actually that door is closing and you becoming a bigger person. And God is doing it before it costs you more than it already has. There's a lot of things we always say. For instance, I should have been further. I don't know why I spoke on that, because now I wish I would have never said that. But don't live in regret. So if this speaks to you where you at right now, I want you to say in this chat right now, I'm letting it close. You got to let that door close. And you trust God enough that when He closing that door, He closing the door in your mind too, where you used to have those old thought patterns. It's because what's ahead of you requires a clearer way of thinking. You have to think straight. So continue to think straight, trust wholeheartedly, and believe that it's going to happen, and you shall receive to walk through a new door, new opportunities, new connections. All this is available in the access and the alignment with our Father, our God. So I hope this video finds somebody well today, because somebody needs to close doors. Somebody needs to stop trying to open up new doors with old keys and stop trying to open up old doors, because those doors is not for you to go back. Stop backtracking. Start moving forward. Hey, if you're new to this video, like I say, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell, turn on your post notification. And if you're new to the channel, go back and watch my video. Don't go back, because some of y'all keep revisiting your past and sleeping with the enemy. It's time for you to stop it.